Welcome to the Bella Grace podcast, where we are empowering you to embrace the beautiful grace found in recovering your authentic self. And this season, we are doing that by telling stories of people who are living a sober life and having fun doing it. Today, we have my friend Joe back on the podcast.
Hi.
He was here at the beginning of the season talking about what it was like to grow up Latino and to be a sober Latino. But today, he's here to talk to us about his Good Man, right?
Good Man series.
Good Man series that he's doing on Instagram and intentional dating as a Christian. So, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks.
Yay!
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Okay, so tell us what you've been up to, what you're doing. I know you're on the dating scene. How's it going? All the things.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm all over the place.
Yes. Yeah.
I think so intentionally dating as a Christian, I feel like it's such a, I wouldn't even say like a gray area, but it's such a like, I don't know, like people, it's not spoken about enough.
Right.
In the sense of how to do it in a good manner.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like people are just, like, they say dating and everyone, like, freezes up and whatnot. They get all awkward and whatnot. But I feel like it's something that needs to be spoken about more. And intentionally dating as a Christian, I would say it kind of definitely helped me, like, kind of create my little Instagram series.
Yeah.
The Good Men series. So basically on there, I'm going to be talking about, like, how to build up men to become better men.
Yeah.
And, like, what exactly that looks like. And I think, and then part of it is just, I would say, through my experiences as dating as a Christian and intentionally dating, I would say it's definitely helped me become a better man.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think the main goal of that series is just to push men to become better. Like, for men, like, to watch it, take notes, do whatever self-reflection they need to.
Yeah.
To become better men. And then also, too, for the girls. Because I think girls, like, if a girl were to watch my little series, like, it'll help them identify, like, oh, this is what a good man, a man of God does, acts, treats women and whatnot.
Yeah, because I know, like, for my daughter, my church back home in Lubbock, they did a series for fathers of daughters, and they did the series kind of showed dads how to raise their daughters in a way that they would date godly men. And it was like the whole point was to show your daughters how to be loved and how to be treated so that they don't settle.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, like, it all ended with the dads taking the daughters to this, like, banquet at the end of the series. And so they got to get dressed up. They got to have a fancy meal. They got to dance. It was really cool.
It's like a daughter dance
thing. Because I think too many girls, especially in this day and age, grow up without a dad or grow up without a good male role model.
Yes.
To show them, like, how you're supposed to be treated. And in a lot of families, we don't get it modeled. Like, you don't see your dad treating your mom well, or you don't see your mom treating your dad well, or maybe they're divorced, whatever. And so it's not modeled for you.
I agree 100%. And I think it's definitely something that's very true. I love that whole concept of, like, the daddy-daughter dance and, like, just, like, treating, like, the whole concept of the fathers treating the daughters as, like, women of God and, like, showing them examples of how they should be treated.
Yeah.
Because I agree, a lot of girls nowadays, they don't have that, like, positive male role model. I remember I was doing the internship at my church, like, 2 years ago. And it was me, one other guy, and then there was, like, 15 girls. So I remember one time, I forget what I was doing, but I think I was simply holding the door for one of the girls. And then she was like, hey, thank you for doing that. And, like, thank you for like really treating us and respecting us like as women. Like you're like she told me she's like I don't have like a positive male role model in my life, and you're kind of that role model to me. And I was like, oh damn, I'm about to cry. And I think even too, if like you talk about like fathers like not being in the picture, or even the fathers that are in the picture, well, like they're emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
Or they're I wouldn't say like, I guess you can honestly say like they're a bit of jerks to their daughters. And like I've seen it too with like I guess like my family where it's like the fathers are very like you need to do this for telling their like daughters like oh this is what you need to do, you need to go to school, college, and all that, but they're not very like open in the way like they're not emotionally available to love their daughters, to like be a positive male role model to them of like oh like, and that's where like you create a lot of scenarios where like the girls don't want to tell their dad certain things and whatnot, and it just leads to a lot of like unhealthy relationships. And that's also too like why I'm doing my little Good Men series, because I want to talk about like being emotionally available as a man and what exactly that looks like. And like I think there's healthy ways for men to be emotionally available. And like so it's not like this whole like machismo culture of like shoving everything down and like not talking about vulnerability or your emotions and whatnot. There's healthy ways to go about these conversations as a man.
Yeah, and I think that is like a problem that we're not taught to, well, not we, guys are not taught how to be emotionally available, how to be vulnerable. And I think in some families, I know mine in particular, it was almost taboo if a male in the family was affectionate towards the female. Like, it was like, oh, that person's being inappropriate, or that person, don't go over there because they might touch you. You know what I mean? Like, and so it was almost discouraged for the men in our family to be affectionate to the girls in our family. And I know a lot of my cousins and me, like, we didn't grow up with a dad in the family, like in our nuclear family. So our uncles and our cousins were like surrogate dads for us. And I tell my daughter all the time, like, my mom's family was not very affectionate. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of like hugs and kisses. There was a lot of love, but it was like smart aleck comments, you know, like jokes or like whatever. That's how we showed love, was like picking on each other and like whatever. So it wasn't like we knew how to give and receive love from a man in a healthy way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's eye-opening. Wow. I didn't even think about that. And like, so like, I guess so like you and people can get a better understanding of where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So I grew up with divorced parents. I think maybe once my dad like had a girlfriend, or was like interested in some girl or whatnot, they were dating. But other than that, like, I don't have any memories of like my dad ever being with a partner or anything like that. Like, I never like, it's like I never had that like example of like, okay, how should a man love a woman in a healthy manner and whatnot. And like, and even like you talk about like your emotions and vulnerability and like being affectionate, like I feel like nowadays it's kind of like taboo for even a guy to admit like, oh hey, I like you, to a girl or something like that, or like it's seen as like, oh, being, I don't know, like you know what the word simp is? Like, oh, what a simp, you know, he likes a girl and stuff like that. And I feel like I think there's healthy ways to explain to a girl how you feel about them.
Yeah.
It's not just like you call them at like 2 a.m. and like dump all your feelings to them.
Yeah. Nothing good happens after midnight. Let's just say that. If
Trust
you
me.
get the inclination to text a girl after midnight, don't.
Don't. Open your Bible. Open your Bible, please.
Open your Bible and pray.
For yourself.
Yeah.
Not the girl, yourself,
Yes,
man.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, no. So what are some of the tips that you're giving in your series for how to be a good man? So is it just like dating tips, or is it like general life tips?
I think it's just going to be kind of just general life tips.
Yeah.
Earlier, I was at work and had some downtime, so I was like making some notes on like what should I talk about in all these episodes. And then I was also talking about, or I had also posted a question on Instagram, like what topics would you like me to discuss? And, you know, kind of going through them and see what I got. And I think it's just going to be overall just general, like how to be a better man. I think, and of course, I feel like everyone's going to want to talk about like dating and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I think I'll save that for like a later episode, because I think there's certain things I want to talk about first. Like, I think one topic, we were having brunch earlier this week, and I had brought this up about like, well, what's the difference between a genuine good guy and a quote unquote nice guy?
Yeah.
Where those are, nice guys are the ones who are like doing all these nice things because they're interested in a girl, and then once the girl isn't interested in her, they completely do a 180 and flip out, and then like starts acting like a little bitch. He'll start calling the girl ugly, or like, I wasn't even all that into you, and stuff like that. Like, that's a quote unquote nice guy.
Or start spreading rumors about her.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah, that happened to my daughter. She turned down a guy, and he started spreading rumors about her, and like, yeah, it was really bad. And I was like, unfortunately, that's what some guys do. When they feel like they have been ditched or dissed is a better word, they lash out. And it's not okay. It's not correct. Like, it doesn't make it right. Like,
no, it doesn't. And it's like, if anything, I think that kind of helps the girl identify and like, good thing I rejected that guy.
Yeah. But it hurts as a girl, from a girl's perspective, because a lot of times you're deceived by this guy. You know, you think he likes you. You think y'all are friends. He may be thinking that you're more than friends.
Yes.
But not verbalizing his intent, which is something else we were talking about. He never tells you that he is pursuing you. And so you're thinking you're just friends, but he has ulterior motives. And so when he comes on to you as a girl and you reject him, and then he turns on you and flips on you 180, like, it hurts us. Like, it leaves us like, how did we miss this? Did we mess up something? Like, did we lead him on? Like, what was the deal? And it's like, if guys would just talk about it.
Be vulnerable.
Be
right?
upfront about, hey, I want to date you. Yeah.
Men are trash. It's so, and it's funny, like, when a few of my friends who are girls, like, they'll tell me about, like, stuff they've experienced with guys. And, like, I had a friend, a really close friend, she told me some guy basically, not exactly, like, as it happened to your daughter, but, like, similar situation. Guy ended up lashing out, and, like, I don't know what it is in me. Like, if it's, like, I guess it's, like, my, like, I don't know what it is in me, but, like, it pissed me off.
Yeah, because you're naturally the big brother. This is what, Arthur and I were talking about. Like, you're just a loving, caring, like, you love your friends with your whole heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I'm very, I would say I'm very, like, protective, too, of my friends. Especially my friends who are girls. I'm like, no random ass bozo can ask him out or stuff like that. And, like, you're not going to be disrespecting one of my homegirls in that manner. Like, because I know when we were grabbing brunch and I was like, I know the motherfucker was standing right here. They want to tell me this shit.
He went girlhood real
Yeah.
quick.
I'm half hood, half holy.
Yes, that's Joe.
But yeah, man, like I'm getting mad right now.
Yeah. Well, it is a very emotional conversation because you do have a lot of girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
Girls that are friends. Yes.
Yeah. Making me sound like a hoe.
Joe is not a hoe, guys. He is not.
I'm holy.
But you do, and I think it's because we feel safe with you.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we can be open and honest with you, and you're open and honest with us. And I think that's something that's lacking in a lot of guy-girl friendships. And I've heard said multiple times, like, guys and girls can't be friends. And because there's always someone who has
Ulterior motives. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good topic, and like me personally, like I just treat everyone as friends.
Yeah.
Like girls, guys, like I'm just like treating everyone as friends. And it's funny, it's happened before where I'm like I'll go to a connect group and like, okay, I'm just conversating with someone, and then this girl, she'll like, okay, yeah, and then she'll mention she has a boyfriend. Okay, cool. How long have you and your boyfriend been together?
Yeah.
Like nothing weird. A few times I've been like this girl kept bringing up her boyfriend. I'm like, all right,
okay.
I get it. You have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like he sounds like a great guy. Like you're making me want a boyfriend now.
But I think it's because as girls, we're so used to not being able to conversate with men because there's always an ulterior motive. Like we've just been programmed to not be able to conversate with a man because there's always that underlying possibility that they're trying to
or they may be
you.
interested or whatnot.
Yeah.
I think and like unfortunately, like it makes sense like that y'all would be like that. I was talking to one of my friends recently. Like we went and we had dinner, and she told me like, she was like, Joe, you're the first guy friend I've ever had. And I was like, yeah. And she's such a sweetheart, super like just genuine, like Jesus filled girl. And like she was telling me like all the other guys like before they like were talking to her, it's like they'd be interested in her, and then once they weren't interested in her, or like they established like, hey, nothing's gonna happen, like they would just leave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah. It sucks for us. Like, I grew up with all brothers, so I naturally connect better with guys.
That makes sense.
I have a hard time having girlfriends. Like, the girlfriends that I have from our connect groups are my first girlfriends in a long time. Like, I have a handful of friends that are girls because I moved around a lot as a kid. And so it was hard for me to have like a steady group of girlfriends because I was always the new kid. But I always made at least one girlfriend, you know, at any school that I went to. And so I always refer to those girls as my best friends.
Yeah.
Because they've remained lifelong friends of mine. But none of them know each other, you know, so it's like, it's always very
spread
disconnected.
out,
Yeah, I hang out with one and it's just the two of us or whatever. But my guy friends, like, I have groups of guy friends that I've been friends with forever. And we may not hang out often or whatever, but I've kind of clung to them because my experience outside of this small group of guy friends is that you make friends with the guy, they try to hit, like, they're your friend for a period of time.
Yeah.
And then they come on to you. And it ruins the friendship. And it's not because I did any, like, to ruin the friendship. We talked about your recent experience where you went on a date and then you decided to be friends. And you remain friends. I don't know why that can't always happen. Like, if I say, no, I don't want to date you, why does that mean that our friendship has to then end? It's not fair, and it sucks.
Yeah, and I think it makes perfect sense. Like, and I think that's where, like, guys struggle in the sense of, like, how much they're investing into this friendship
Yeah.
and how much they're investing their feelings into this girl
Yeah.
and whatnot. And I always say this, like, scripture. It's one of my favorites. Like Proverbs 4:23, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life.
Oh, yeah.
And like, that's something I've kind of like stuck to myself. Like, I'm not gonna be like, like, I'm not gonna. I know guys, and I'm sure girls do this too. They see someone, they're like, oh my god, knight in shining armor type of thing. They start planning their like
Their
life
weddings,
with the
their
wedding,
babies,
the
they
kids.
got the kids named.
They're like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be some nice little mixed kids and stuff like that. And I'm like, when you don't even know this person,
Right.
you haven't even talked to them, like,
Yeah.
you don't even know if you're gonna like them as a genuine person,
Yeah.
like, and so like that's why like the whole guarding your heart comes into play and whatnot. And I'm like, I'm not ready to be. I'm not gonna fully invest my feelings into someone if like they don't even really know if it's like if they're not on board with me and whatnot.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So-
I think I've made that mistake before where I got too far into a relationship before I realized that we weren't compatible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like we didn't have the same belief systems. And granted, my husband and I, we have totally different belief systems, but we were friends for an entire year
Mm-hmm.
before we ever started dating.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had those conversations of like, we have totally different belief systems. How would we even deal with this if we ever dated?
Yeah.
And like had those conversations and like really got to know each other. And I think that's something that we tend to not do, especially Christians who are quote unquote dating the right way. Our church did a series on doing it the right way and how waiting till you're married
Mm-hmm.
to have sex and like that whole thing of like if you're dating as a Christian and you're trying to do it the right way, there can be a rush.
My friend
Right?
told me about that. Yeah.
A rush to the bed. And the altar just happens to be on the way.
That's funny. One of my
Yeah,
friends had
like-
told me about that, and they're like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is the right reason for
Right.
marriage.
They're like rushing
Yeah.
into it because they want to get to that physical part of the
Mhm.
relationship, but they're rushing all the getting to know you part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you hit on a topic that was really good, and it's one of my favorite things. And I think people are so, I don't know, like oblivious to this. But like you just said, you and your husband were friends for a full year before y'all were dating,
Yeah.
and now y'all are married.
Yeah.
I think the problem with society is everyone just wants to jump into dating someone.
Yeah.
And I saw it recently. It was one of my friends. He jumped straight into dating someone, and it went south.
Yeah.
And I think, especially as Christians, and this is why I love the book of Philippians so much, because it talks about being humble and walking in humility.
Mm-hmm.
I think as Christians, like, you should have a genuine love for each other as brothers and sisters in Christ on a simple platonic level before you can even go into that into a romantic level.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, have a genuine feeling for each other as Christians. Like, I think that's why for the most part, I've been having success in dating and whatnot with, like, the majority of the girls that I've either asked out or I expressed my feelings with, majority of them, like, we're still good friends. We still
Yeah.
talk to this day. Of course, it comes with boundaries.
Yeah.
But we're, like, it's interesting, like, I asked out one of my friends maybe like last year, and then I had asked out one of her friends, and then her friend asked her like, oh hey, Joe asked me out, what do you think I should say? My friend was like, oh, he's a great guy, you should go on the date with him.
Yeah.
And it's like
There's none of those hard feelings. It wasn't like, oh, I can't date you because my friend dated you.
yeah,
Because you're all friends.
mm-hmm.
And that friendship carried through, even though the dating relationship didn't go anywhere with that one girl.
Mm-hmm.
You're all still friends.
Yeah, and like even one of my friends, like last week, she was, I forget what exactly was the question. I think she said like, oh, well, what if like the girls, talk about you and whatnot. I'm like, I'm fine if they were to talk about me. Like, I know I haven't been disrespectful. I
Yeah.
haven't been awkward or weird. I've been, just upfront. Like if all the girls were to share messages that I've sent them, like, I have nothing to hide. I'm okay. Like,
and that's the thing. Like, you have to be transparent. You have to be a good man.
Yeah.
Before you ever start dating. And I think it's great that you're doing the not dating stuff first, because I think too many of us, not just guys, humans in general, start dating before we've healed ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we go into the relationship broken with all of our baggage, and we leak our scar juice all over everybody.
Yeah, and it sucks because then you end up hurting the people who are really genuine.
Yeah.
And it happened to me where I got hurt by this girl. And it sucks, like, I think, so you talk about, like, not just guys, not just girls. I think a lot of people who are, like, dating probably shouldn't be dating.
Right.
I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
Or they jump relationship to relationship to relationship. And I think you really need to heal, like, your scars. I actually took, back then, I think after, it was 2020 and 2021, I took a good, like, 2-year break on, like, not dating.
Yeah.
I think maybe I asked out maybe 3 girls. And I think one of them, we did go on a date, but for the majority, 2 years, nothing. And those 2 years, that's where I'm going to church, serving, did an internship at my church, going to therapy for my anxiety, going to therapy for, like, my family trauma. Like, it was a good 2 years of me just really, like, focusing on myself and building myself back up to, like, who I am and what my greatest potential is. And, like, I honestly didn't start dating until I started taking leadership roles at church and whatnot. And I'm like, this is weird. I'm getting weird attention from girls that I'm not used to.
Because you're suddenly the church man. Like,
Like,
you're the man of God. They're like, ooh. I will say that single men in church of dating age are very few and far between. Because most of the men that come to church are there because their wives dragged them there.
It's either that or then it's just a random weird where my hug at, guys.
Yeah. Yep. And so it is like, if you run into a good guy, good single young guy in church, it's like all eyes are on you.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to, like, boost my ego or anything like that, but, like, also too, like, and there's not that our church is mostly girls, or I wouldn't say mostly girls, but the girls heavily outweigh the guys going.
It's pretty common in most churches.
Oh,
Did you
really?
know that?
I did not.
Yep, most churches, I forget what the statistic is, but it is majority women. Which goes back to biblical, like, Jesus' time. I forget where I read it, but the majority of his ministry was paid for, and, like, the workers were all women. Like, the women were the ones that went out and did stuff and raised the money and did the stuff for his ministry. I forget where I read it. I don't know. It was some women's Bible study, but yeah.
That's interesting, especially because, like, you in the Bible, it says women submit yourselves to your husband and whatnot. And sometimes I think that really gets into the head of guys where they're like, oh, she has to be submitted to me and stuff like that. I'm like, I think there's healthy ways of submission to a husband.
Yep.
It doesn't mean, like, the woman is powerless or she is unvaluable or less worthy or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I think especially at our church, like, there's some great women at our church.
Yeah.
Like some of them, I ain't gonna lie, some of them intimidate me because
yes.
they're so great.
Nefta.
Yeah.
That was kind of an inside joke because I remember you. Is she the one that you used to call Heffa?
Yeah. I have her saved on my phone as Nefta La Heffa.
I love
Hi, Nefta. We love
Hi,
you.
Nefta.
Nefta's a great woman, guys.
She is. She is. But she exudes authority. Like she's confident in herself. And she doesn't need anyone to hold her up. Like she's very confident in who she is and who God says she is. And she's not going to let her friends go by the wayside. Like she's not going to leave anyone behind. Like if someone is struggling, she might grab you by the hair and pull you up with her, but you're not staying down. Like she is going to drag you. And I don't know her that well, but just from what I do,
the way you explained her, perfect to a T. She's awesome.
Yeah. But I feel like I wish more people were like that. In church in general, like, and I feel like that's what you're doing with this, is you are reaching out to the men and saying, I might be dragging you by the ear, but I'm bringing you with me.
Yeah. And so with like my Good Men series, like I'm gonna be honest, I struggle with like male friendships. You know how you're talking about your friends are mostly guys. Most of my friends are, I would say probably the girls outweigh the guys ratio by a little bit. And that's because I grew up with like my sister, and then as I was getting older, I was closest with like my girl cousins.
We're the exact opposite.
Yes. It's funny because Tracy's the same way. Easier with guys, had brothers. And
that's why me and Tracy get along so well. Because we're just like, she'll
understand each
text
other.
me every once in a while. She's like, hey, how you doing?
It's perfect.
We don't get booty hurt. We're just like, we get it.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm busy. Let me live my life.
Yeah.
Or like even like I remember I think honestly too, one of like the earliest like signs of like me getting along better with women was I remember in high school, like I was on like the journalism team for like my my junior and senior year, and it was also predominantly women. My surf team, predominantly women. I've been with them for 2 years. The internship, predominantly women. So I just built this, and like you were saying, like I kind of create this area of like safety for women, and it's not just you. I've heard it before from like my other friends who are girls, where like they feel safe, they can be honest, vulnerable with me, and like they just feel comfortable and whatnot, and I'm all for it. And like so with like my Good Men series, one of the biggest things that like bothers me about men is like when they're kind of like chest puffed out. I had like 3 protein shakes this morning. I gotta go do arms today. I'm like, all right, man, like that's cool. Like, chill out, get yourself off that pedestal, put your ego and pride aside. Like, you're not this super macho man.
Yeah.
And I struggle with like, me personally, like if a guy's kind of like that, like chest puffed out type of dude, like I automatically don't like you. Just being honest. So like, or I think too, how do I word this correctly? I think men can kind of like have their, and not just men, people in general can have like their pride in the way of like just being themselves. And so like, I was at a dinner maybe a few months ago, and this guy mentioned this girl, and he was like, oh yeah, but I wasn't really interested in her. But I'm like, boy, I know for a fact you were interested in her.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's like, I'm like, bro, quit being fake. Like, you're putting up this front and whatnot. Like, so like, I struggle with like, and like, I don't have, I would say a majority of my guy friends are some of my closest guy friends are like married men. It's interesting. I get along better with men outside of church than men inside of church.
Why do you think that is?
Because the men outside of church, they don't have an image to maintain.
Yeah.
They can just be themselves.
Yeah.
I work with a group of like 18-year-olds and whatnot at work, and like it's funny as hell working with them because they're just being themselves.
Yeah.
and like they don't have this like image to maintain, or like they don't have this thing of like we're talking about us, like we in your episode with Arthur, you talked about being your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
So being your authentic self means like being who you are 24/7.
Yeah.
So we talked about dating with intentionally dating as a Christian. Well, I have enough confidence in myself, like where I'm like, I'm good, like I can wait till marriage.
Yeah.
Can some of these other guys who claim to be Christians wait till marriage?
Yeah.
If they were in a situation where like they could have sex with a girl, would they?
Yeah.
So now it's like, so are you really a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
or are you not?
Yeah.
Whereas the guys who aren't Christians, like they're just being themselves. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Like and like I totally get them. I respect them. I don't ever try to like change their narratives.
Yeah.
One of my closest friends, probably my best friend Omar, like we've gone to church together a few times, but I think I'm more implanted in my faith with God than he is.
Mm-hmm.
We live different lifestyles. I don't judge him for it.
Yeah.
I'll give him feedback when he
Mm-hmm.
wants feedback, and I'll tell him. And if he wanted like biblical advice, I'd give him biblical advice. But I'm not gonna judge him for the way, he wants to live his life and
You're
whatnot.
just loving him.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
That's my role.
Yeah.
And like, I think it was like my Good Men series. It's like it's gonna cater to all men. So it's like men who could who aren't even going to church. Well, and this isn't a Christian series. It can be like how to become a better man in general. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's an issue that all men face.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the face of this Me Too movement, like that should have been eye-opening to the whole world. And I think it was to a certain degree that men have started creating a hostile work environment for women in all aspects of life. Like these were work situations with the Me Too movement and the actresses that were coming out and all this stuff with, what's his name? Weinstein. But it should have been eye-opening to all of us that women exist in this hostile environment where we are objects of men's attention. And we don't have a say in it. And we went to South Padre and we are on our way back, and we have an electric car now.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, fancy. But so there are hardly any chargers between here and South Padre. So we had to go way out of our way. And we ended up very close to the border. And I had an experience at a restaurant where a guy, it was a few things. I went to the bathroom. I'm there with my husband and my nephew-in-law, basically, is what he is. He's my nephew's brother-in-law. And so, walk in with two guys. I go to the bathroom, and someone's knocking on the bathroom door. But it's not like a single stall bathroom. It's a bathroom with multiple stalls. So there's no reason for anyone to be knocking on the door. If you need to come in and use the bathroom, there's other stalls. So I'm like, what is going on? I come out of the bathroom, and it's a guy. He's waiting there for me right outside the bathroom stall and just, totally, undresses me with his eyes right there. He's just, and he's standing in the doorway, so I can't even really get out of the bathroom without touching him, without, rubbing myself on him to get out of the bathroom. So I, get out of that situation, go sit down with my husband. He walks past our table and just stares me down. And I didn't tell my husband about it right away. I just, grabbed his leg, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No. I'll tell you about it in the car." Well, then I got up to go get something from the register, and a guy, there was a long line, so another guy, walks in and I'm standing like right in front of the door, and I'm wearing this like super strappy like sundress that just has a bunch of crisscross straps in the back, and it's pretty much like bareback except for the straps. And I think I had my hair up in a ponytail. But so he walks in and he gets so close to my back that when he blows on my back, I can feel the moisture from his breath. And he like just blew, like went from the nape of my neck down to the middle of my back. And then walked off and went to the bathroom. And I'm like, what the hell is up with guys? Like, are you kidding me right now? And then I go and sit back down, and I'm now telling my husband and my nephew-in-law about what just happened. And another guy just like walks by and is like staring me down. And I'm like, we gotta get out of here before I end up in prison for killing a dude. Like, I cannot put up with this. And so it started a conversation between my nephew-in-law and my husband and me of like, I said, is it a cultural thing? Like, is it a man thing? Like, what is it? Like, is it, because we were very close to the border, and so it, you know, they were probably all Mexicans, which, race aside, like, I'll get back to that, but like, is it a cultural thing? Is it a, because I told him, I said, I would be damned if one of the soccer dads in our neighborhood did that in the line at Kroger. Like, no, hell would freeze over first. You know what I mean? So, like, is it a social thing where it's not socially acceptable to do those types of things in certain social circles? Is it in certain cultures? Because I've had many men from many other cultures do similar things to me. I'm a photographer, and so in Dallas, and so I've worked with a lot of different cultures. Indian, you know, Asians, whatever. Like, I've worked with a lot of cultures, and it seems to me like women are not valued in many cultures in the world. And for whatever reason, you know, Americans tend to, it kind of gets lost, like diluted in us, maybe, like, I don't know, I can't explain it. So what do you think as from a guy's perspective? Like, how do you, because do you see what I mean? Like,
so
there's certain social circles where that wouldn't be accepted.
Yeah,
but
I think there's a lot of social circles where that wouldn't be accepted. And I think it's just super weird. It's weird as crap for them to do that when you're with two other guys there. Like, that's where I'm like, are you asking for an ass beating? Because two guys will give you an ass beating if you're being stupid like that.
It's like, I was mind blown. But I've had similar situations, and I tell my daughter, I'm like, look, it sucks. Like, you're pretty. I've dealt with it my whole life. Like, I'm not trying to be conceited, but my whole life I've dealt with people hitting on me. You know, unwanted hitting on me, unwanted sexual advances, unwanted whatever. My daughter deals with it now. She looks exactly like me, except lighter complected and blonde hair. But it sucks that I have to raise her and tell her, like, just get used to it. It's going to happen for the rest of your life.
Damn, that does suck.
Yeah.
Man, it's so... And I think also, too, I think it's something like society has really failed us in the sense of, like, guys will talk about, like, oh, let's go to a club, pick up some hoes and stuff like that. And like you mentioned, like, girls have been kind of projected as just objects, which, again, I think that's where society fails us again. It's, oh, let's go pick up hoes, let's go pick up bitches and stuff like that. And, like, that's not how I talk, that's how people talk nowadays, unfortunately. I think it's super, and, like, that's why I'm like, well, and I think there's, like I've said, you got hit on inappropriately, or, you know, you got approached inappropriately, or weird sexual advances, like, I'm like, oh my god. And like I haven't experienced it myself, but like a few years ago, I was an assistant manager at Dollar General, and then my two main cashiers were girls. And I do remember one time, like, this guy was acting super inappropriate, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do, like.
Yeah.
And so,
Because what do you do? Do
I
you
don't know,
like? Do you can't kick his butt when you're at work?
no, I can't.
You know, you can't
Especially
like.
not if they're like a lot more taller than me.
Yeah. But it is like, what have we done? And I will say, like, I live in a very suburban-ish like neighborhood, so it is kind of it's all soccer dads,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. It's all soccer dads.
Yeah.
It's all dads, like middle class working families, right? So like, is it like, I don't know. Is it like?
I think I don't know. I think just if I were to really try to pinpoint this, I think it's just men weren't taught better.
That's what I was about to say. I think it goes back to the fact that in certain families, certain family types, divorce is more common, or absent dads is more common, or whatever. Like substance abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, like.
Or I think you could even go to like, if, like, let's say you have a family, like both parents living together. Well, dad's cheating on the mom regularly,
and the sons see that, and that's what they think you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have 5 girlfriends.
Yeah, it's interesting. And like, I'm trying to put myself into that perspective.
Yeah.
And like I said, my dad didn't have a girlfriend growing up or anything like that. But my dad was always very like chivalrous in the sense of like, and just the way he presented himself, especially towards women as well. Like, I remember like maybe when I was in like my early 20s, we'd go out and like have dinner, and my dad he can be a pretty charismatic guy, and he'd be like joking around with the waitresses, and like, you know, it could be flirting, it could not be, you know, whatever. But the way he presented himself like was still very like respectful and whatnot.
Yeah. I think there's a line. Like, there's a way to be flirty and fun and charismatic without crossing the line.
Yeah.
And also like acknowledging if the girl is like shutting you down. And not lashing out at her for it.
Yeah. One thing you did mention about is like, you know, you're just wearing a sundress, you said?
Yeah.
So I've had this conversation before with other girls. And they're like, well, you know, it's summer right now. Girls want to post their bikini photos and whatnot. They want to wear, it's hot as hell too. Man, if I could be butt naked outside, I would. It's hot. But the girls have asked me, like, well, not asked me, but they're like, well, you know, they want to wear this. They want to wear their bikini. What you wear isn't, like, let's say if you're wearing like a tank top and some short shorts, and a guy starts lusting over you as a girl, it's not your fault that he's lusting over over you. That's
on him.
That's his choice.
Yeah.
And
that's another huge debate of like people who are like, well, she shouldn't dress like that, or if you don't want the attention, maybe you should put on more clothes. And that's something I struggle with my daughter. She's a teenager, like. She's gonna kill me for saying this, but she's got bigger boobs, you know, and they came in at a really early age, and she hated it, and I'm like, I'm sorry. She's like, I got dress coded for wearing the exact same thing another girl was wearing, but because my boobs are bigger, I get in trouble and she doesn't. Yeah, I'm like, it's not fair. But the onus is put on the girls to be modest, to do this, to do that, instead of holding the guys a little bit responsible of like.
Yeah, and I like. Granted, I'm not a girl. I've been I think there's like one of my friends. She's like super fashionista. She'll like get clothes and she'll cut it up and like make nice little crop tops and whatnot. And like, I think like. Me just being a guy, me being myself, like, like, let's say a girl's working out at the gym 5 days a week. She's grinding, eating healthy, and she wants to wear something that she feels comfortable and confident in.
Mm-hmm.
Then hey, that's great. I'm all for it. Like, wear it. Like,
Yeah.
I know myself. Like, it's funny. Like, I work at a restaurant across the street. There's a bar. They have a bunch of girls in thongs.
Yes.
And I see it every day.
Yeah.
However, I don't lust over it every day.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh my god, bro. Like, I don't
Yeah.
do that. I'm like, oh, cool. She's wearing a thong. All right.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. How can I help you? Like,
Yeah.
I'm choosing not to lust over it.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
because it goes back to self-control
Mm-hmm.
and being a good human and having respect for your fellow humans,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
like we shouldn't have to, guys or girls, like we shouldn't have to constantly be worrying that we're going to trigger someone else.
Yeah.
I posted something one time and got mixed reviews on it, but I posted something that said, your triggers are not their responsibility. Meaning, like, it's not someone else's responsibility to censor themselves because you haven't healed.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
Honestly.
because, and I there's a lot of things that could trigger me. Like, you know, my son died by suicide. My fiance had an accidental opiate overdose. Like, there are a lot of things that could trigger me, but I've taken the time to do the work to
You've worked
heal
through
from
it,
those
yeah.
things.
Mhm.
And so it's not someone else's responsibility to change what they're talking about or change what their t-shirt says
Yes.
or whatever to make sure that everyone else in the room is okay.
Is happy, yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think, though, there is a little bit of humility that comes into that part. So I remember a few weeks ago, I was at, like, a Connect group. I joke a lot about mental health. Like, that's how I cope with it. Like,
You poke fun at yourself.
yeah, like, it's just,
yeah.
I'm like, and I was joking around about it, and I was like, someone mentioned mental health as well, too. And I'm like, oh, you hear voices, too? And they're like, stop, please stop. And, like, I was like, okay, I should probably chill. And, like, later on, I apologized. Hey, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to make fun of mental health. I've struggled with mental health, too. Like,
Yeah.
I've been there before.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, and
I'm like, I walk-
acknowledging
like,
when you've
I've-
offended someone,
mm-hmm.
keep your side of the street clean, you know,
Yeah.
and acknowledge if you've been an asshole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
And it's interesting because I think I can use that to, like, segue back to, like, intentional dating.
yes, because we got way
We're
off
off
track.
topic. This is actually a good podcast. I like it. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like we're talking about men becoming better.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about the importance of, like, women being strong and, like, how men should treat women,
Yeah.
not lusting over them. But going back to the intentional dating, I think something that, like, people struggle with in dating is just, like, humility. Like, hey, I messed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, and, like, I'm not, like, the king of dating or anything. Like, I've messed up a bunch of times, too. Like, I've messed up. There's no way to deny it or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm learning as I go, though.
Yeah.
But, like, I think humility is something, like, people struggle with in dating, and, like, it's so hard for people to just admit when they've messed up. Like, hey, I'm sorry, I messed up. Like, however, I know I messed up. Like, this is what we can do moving forward to
Yeah.
make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And I think, too, another thing, people are very selfish when it comes to dating.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because, like, people will have a list of what they want, or, like, they'll have a whole, like, what does he bring to the table? What is he going to do for me?
Yeah.
And it's, like, both. I think it's mostly coming from girls, because I think
Yeah.
guys are kind of...
We're notorious for it. We've been thinking about what our husband will look like, what our husband will do since we were 4 years old.
And even with, like...
Yeah.
Or I think... It's, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, like... Yeah. this is where it sucks not having that many, like, I guess, Christian guy friends, single
Yeah.
Christian guy friends.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a few, but they're like just happy being single and whatnot. But it's like dating isn't just about you,
Yeah.
especially intentionally dating as a Christian for the goal of a marriage. Like,
Yeah. I was gonna ask what your definition of intentional dating is. Like,
intentional dating.
yeah.
I think the definition for me is intentionally dating as a Christian would be to date for the eventual goal of marriage
Yeah.
and having that lifelong partner with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and like you can go into like different topics of like, oh, well, kids, adopting, pets, like
Mm-hmm.
that's all like further conversations beyond that. But I think at the end of the day, intentionally dating as a Christian is to get married one day and like find your best friend.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not friends, it will all fall apart.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I actually have, this is me, just cheap little plug for myself. Such a godly man. On the back of my phone, I have a letter written out to my future wife.
Oh.
Wow, such a great guy. So
Yes.
comfortable.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
Mhm.
Oh.
And I made it like 2 years ago when I was going to therapy.
Uh-huh.
And when my counselor told me like, you're a great guy, you need to be dating. And so recently, like this past summer, I revised it,
Yeah.
made some adjustments. But one of my biggest things is like just being my best friend. Like I have to be able to be myself around, like be my full authentic self around
Yeah.
you 24/7.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, and it doesn't make sense. Like I've had a conversation before with people, and they're like, well, once I have someone as a friend, it's kind of hard for me to see them outside of that friend picture.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, well, I don't know, I don't want to make things awkward or whatnot. I'm like, it makes the most sense to date one of your friends. Maybe not one of your closest friends. Maybe like someone who's also like borderline acquaintance friend.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes the most sense because that's how you know you love each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also get a perspective of how they are
Yeah.
in general, how they treat
Yeah.
people, how they serve people, how they just love on people, how they take care of their family, their friends.
Because you're more likely to truly be yourself around a friend than you are someone that you are dating,
Mm-hmm.
who you don't know very well.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nick and I have a very, very strange, not normal story, but so we were friends for a year, only talked on the phone, didn't see each other.
Mm-hmm.
The first time we saw each other after that year, we went on a trip together. So I literally like drove into Dallas, got to his apartment, went inside his apartment. He got his bag, I got my bag, and we hopped in his car and drove to Fredericksburg together. And so our first date was driving to Fredericksburg together. And it was nerve-wracking because it was the first time we were in the same room together. But I was able to be open and honest about the nerves, be open and honest about how I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was because this person knew me.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And this person knew my fears. This person knew my hopes. This person knew my dreams. Like, he knew me. So it was a safe place to just be myself.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's beautiful. I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. But I think it goes hand in hand, though. Like, you were, I think, how old were y'all when y'all started dating?
To say I was 9, so you know what? It was I was 31 when we started dating because
Okay.
we met my 30th birthday or around my 30th birthday. Yeah.
So this is one of my like favorite stories I always like to share. I remember I was driving for Uber, earning some side income, and I picked up this older lady, probably like her 50s or 60s, And she was super sweet, and I had to take her out to like middle of nowhere, Texas. So it was like an hour drive, but she was like super sweet, and she told me something that always stuck with me. And this was probably like 4 years ago when I drove her. She told me, as you get closer to 30, that's when you understand what you want in life, what you're willing to like. You understand what you want in life and who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And it goes, like, that's why I asked you, well, how old were you? I'm like, 30. And like, next month I'm going to be 29. So I'm like, I think I'm getting at that stage. If not, I'm already there.
Yeah. You're wise. You're wise beyond your years, so.
Appreciate it, yeah. And it's like, at that age, like, you understand who you are. You understand what you want. Like, I joke around with, like, to me, I don't do talking phases. I don't do the whole good night, good morning, unless I'm going to be dating that person. Because why the fuck am I going to be texting them? Good night, good morning, if I'm not, like, if we haven't both discussed how we feel about each other.
Yeah.
And I think, like, and a lot of times, like, people nowadays, they get in these stupid scenarios that they shouldn't even be in the first place. Like, they're constantly texting someone, or they're hanging out with this some person, but they haven't defined the relationship. I don't think there's anything wrong with defining a relationship at any point in the relationship. That way y'all both know what's going on.
Yes, you're on the same page. Yeah. There's no question. Like, okay, we're friends. We're friends, but we might make it something one day. We're friends, and it's never going anywhere any day. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just put it all out there. Let's talk. I think a lot of people are just afraid to talk.
Yeah, honestly. And, like, I know I shared, like, I went on a date a few weeks ago with one of my friends. She was a girl. Great girl. Love her to death. I check in on her, like, because we're friends. Like, hey, how's it going? What's going on in life and whatnot? We went on one date. I told her, like, I'm fully confident that I can protect our friendship and we can go on this date.
Yeah.
We went on a date. We talked about, I asked her, second date. She said, you know, she really wants to, like, protect the friendship. She doesn't want to lead me on or us to be confused. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's just stay friends.
Yeah.
That's
easy
it.
enough.
Yes. And that way there's no confusion. There's
no hard feelings. It was a second date. No one has fallen in love. Like, no one has.
And it's like, or especially too nowadays, people are like, play games type of thing. And I'm like, games? Like, no. I have a friend who sells one of my friends. Her name is Daisy. I
love Daisy.
She's great. She sells. No, she has like a party game rental business.
She does.
Okay. Like she rents out party games for parties and whatnot. And then she was in the group chat. She was saying something about her business and whatnot. And I was like, next girl that plays games with me, I'm gonna give you her. I'm gonna give them your business card, Daisy. Like,
oh my god.
And I think too, like, bro, I'm 29. Like, majority of my people in my circle are close to my age. Like, what the fuck are we gonna be playing these high school games for? Like, he likes them. Like, I think I've shared, like, if I'm interested in someone, I'll share it with like really, really close friends. Or if not, I don't share it with anyone unless it's that person.
Yeah, I think you should protect the relationship, protect the feelings until you've communicated it with that person and you're both ready to talk about it.
Yes. And that's why, like I said, like, I went on a date with one of my friends, girls. I haven't said her name. I'm not going to, like, be putting our business out there.
Yeah.
Like, it's a respecting, I think, too. Yeah. Like, I'm going to respect, like, our friendship, respect you, your privacy, my privacy. Like.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, I think people just, I don't know, like, and I try to be careful with, like, how often I associate with people, because there's certain, like, I'm like, all right, this isn't high school anymore. Like, if you like someone, just tell them. There's no, like, games or, like, oh, is she interested in me or is she not? Like, just talk about it, remove that confusion, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is the the key to intentional dating is
Mhm.
like be open and honest and set boundaries, set expectations.
Yeah. So I'm gonna plug 2 books right now. The book, there's this book called Outdated by J. Precluda. He's a pastor in Waco. Basically, he wrote this book, basically giving an outline on to Christians on how to date.
Ah, there you go.
Literally, it was like, you see someone you're interested, ask them out on a date, use the word date so they know it's a date.
Yes, be clear, be confident. Yes.
And that's it. And then, okay, y'all go on a date, follow it up. Like, hey, how do you feel about it? You want to go on a second date? That's it. Like, and honestly, like, I would say I've basically used that book for like, okay, well, this is how I'm a date and whatnot.
Yeah.
And there's this other book called the man God has for you, and it's a sorry, my mom's calling me.
Oh.
I'll be all right, Mom. Mom, I'm trying to find you a what is
A
it?
daughter-in-law.
Mom, let me record this real quick.
Yes. We're trying to get you some
For
grandchildren.
after marriage.
After marriage.
There's this book called "The Man God Has for You," by Stefan something.
Okay.
His Instagram.
I'll find the links and I'll put them in the show notes. Yeah.
And I read that book not because I want a man that God will provide for me.
Well, no, but you want to be the man
I wanted to
that
be that
God
man.
is providing for someone. And I think that's important because we're so busy praying for our, what is it, Boaz, that we are still Jezebel.
Glad someone said it.
Yes. You know, you can't be a Jezebel and get your Boaz. You got to be, is it Ruth? It's Ruth or Naomi. Ruth, because Naomi was the mother-in-law. You got to be Ruth.
I just know you can't be Eve.
Yeah, that either.
But yeah, like I read that book. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what women want. Like they want safety, they want security, they want a provider, they want someone emotionally mature, you know, and stuff like that.
Emotionally available, emotionally mature, able to communicate, like not just shut down when things get tough or just shut you out. You know, like it's important to be able to communicate. And when you're dating to marry, if you're going to have those attributes in your marriage, you have to have them in your dating life. Like, because it's not just going to magically appear the day that you have a ring on your finger.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. And I think, like, you know, you talk about having these attributes. And, like, so when my counselor first started telling me, like, oh, you need to be dating. Like, you're a great man. I'm like, all right, great. 6 months. I'm going to be a married man. I'm going to be taken scooped up and everything.
God had a different plan.
Yeah, and, like, I think that's what, there's so much beauty in it because, like, that was, like, almost 2 years ago. I've grown so much in those 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think it's helped me become a healthier man. And I think it's helped me, like, embrace, like, masculinity. I think one of the beautiful things that I've seen is when, like you've mentioned, I have a lot of friends who are girls. I create an area of safety for them in my masculine energy where they can be vulnerable in their feminine energy. And throughout these, like, almost 2 years, I've grown so much as a man. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, at least, you know, if things don't work out with person A, B, or whatever, like, I'm still learning and becoming a better person as it goes on. Yeah.
And you have these attributes in your personal life so that you can have those as a husband and your wife will be able to feel safe with you. I did want to ask, because you said, like, the last 2 years you've been growing. You stopped drinking about 2 years ago, right?
3.5.
Okay, I knew it was somewhere along that line. So how has being sober affected your dating?
Man, that is interesting.
How did you date before and how do you date now? Is it better or worse?
So the way I date now is way better. Around the time I got sober is also around the time I gave up my life to Christ. I think there was a 3 months differential between there, and so basically the way I viewed dating was the way society viewed dating. Like I remember I was on Tinder. I remember I would be swiping. I had like the Tinder Gold Platinum deal. I'm like,
I cannot imagine this.
yes, and I'd be swiping, and then okay, cool, and then matches, and then just striking up conversation, saying stupid shit that I probably shouldn't be saying, going on dates, with different girls and whatnot, and it was very like, I think there was no end goal.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like they would ask me, like, "Oh, what are you looking for?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just going with the flow." So I'm like, ideally, I was like wasting my time. Honestly.
Yes. You were just playing around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being stupid and
Yeah.
no judgment to anyone who's doing that. Like, if that's where your situation is right now in life, well, like, I'm not gonna judge you for it. Like,
Yeah.
we're all human. We live and we grow. And
Yeah.
we just
we
try.
learn and you live, you learn, and hopefully you take the lessons and you grow from those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So me drinking and not being a Christian, like, there was no like, oh, I'm Christian, but I'm still drinking phase. There wasn't a, oh, I'm still I'm sober, but I'm not a Christian. Like those kind of went hand in hand. So you asked me about like how did drinking affect my dating. So man, I'm gonna be super vulnerable on this. I was at a party. I got super drunk. I had feelings for one of my friends who was a girl. Unfortunately, due to me being drunk and intoxicated, she found out that night. And the way I acted and expressing myself, I really wish I hadn't done it that way. Because I'm a drunk. I'm a mess. Like, now she knows. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
It could have been way better. And honestly, I remember when that happened, like, waking up the next day, I'm like, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And I'm really tired of this shit. So I feel like that kind of triggered my whole, like, journey of, like, sobriety and finding Christ. Like, I think 2 weeks later, I ended up going to church, like, every week and whatnot, getting my shit together. And unfortunately, it's like those pits in life where, like, you fuck up a lot. You fuck up, and then you're like...
That was your rock bottom.
Yeah.
In a sense. Like, because for you, I know because I'm your friend, but I know how important it is for you. That's what you want. That is your dream, your vision for your life. To be a dad, to be a husband, to be a godly husband, to be a godly example to your future children. I know how important that is to you. So for you, messing that up with that girl that you really liked.
And we were like really good friends. Like, super, like, we could just be ourselves around each other. Which was, and that's when I think that kind of like, whenever we'd hang out, I kind of like triggered my, like, something in my brain where I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like, I think I was like 25 at the time. So I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like, this is what I would want ideally and whatnot. And like you said, like, I personally, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but like, I feel like God has called me to be a husband one day. And I look forward to that. I think
it's a real calling. And I think some people, that is truly their calling, is to be a spouse.
Yeah, and I think I've grown so much in this, like, journey of, like, who I was, just from when a young man to, like, where I'm at now. Like, a lot of, like, growing and, like, self-reflecting and just becoming a better man. But I definitely think God has, like, placed it in my heart to, like, be a loving husband one day. And there's times where, like, I'm just a very, like, I'll buy flowers for my friends who are girls. One of my friends was asking me, like, so do you have, like, ulterior motives with that? Like, are you hoping they're gonna like you? I'm like,
No.
No, I'm just gonna buy him flowers. Nothing weird.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you how many girls from church I bought flowers
Yeah,
for.
I'm
'Cause
pretty
I
sure
don't
you
know.
brought me and Tracy flowers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to.
It's sweet, and I think like if more guys were just nice like that to girls for no reason, no ulterior motives, a lot fewer girls would fall for the bad boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot fewer girls would settle for less than they're worth.
Yes. And like that's super true. Like the whole settling and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I made my little TikTok, and I was like, I recorded myself holding those flowers, and I'm like, buying my homegirls flowers, so they don't settle for less and know how a man of God should treat them.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's true with like some of my friends who are girls. Like, I'll be honest. If I approve of a guy for them, I'll let them know. If I don't approve of a guy for them, I'll let them know. It's not me trying to like slide into DMs or like get this guy out the picture. No, if he's a great guy, then I'm all for it. Like, cool, like,
Yeah.
great. But if he's not, then he's a jackass.
Yeah. No, I think it's back to what you said about being brothers and sisters in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my brother is the first one to tell me if I'm dating a douchebag.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He immediately loved my husband, so I knew it was.
Whew, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He never liked any of my boyfriends ever. Like, I think one. And that was because they were buddies, not because
he was a great guy.
Yeah, not because he was a great guy for me. They were just, yeah. And so my brother would be the first one to say the guy's a douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he would notice it before I would even notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like, I notice it. I don't know what it is. I feel like I have the gift of discernment.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I get gut feelings around, like, certain people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'm the same way.
yes.
I can tell my husband I don't trust them. And then 3 months down the road, something comes up, and I said,
like,
told you I didn't trust them.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And unfortunately, there is, like, guys who are on my radar where I'm like, that guy's a fuckboy. That guy's fake. That guy's full of shit. That guy's a jackass. That guy's a dumbass. And I'm not saying this to, like, because I'm so great and holy. It's just, they're not, I guess, quote unquote, good men.
Yeah.
And I hope they I hope they one day like fix all their patterns and whatnot.
Yeah.
And become better. But also too, that's not my responsibility.
Yeah, no, it's not your responsibility. I think it's and that's kind of like with this podcast and with what I do, like it's not my responsibility to change people, but it is my responsibility to put the information out there so that people can see that there is a way out, there is a way to change, and here's the tips and tools and resources to do it.
And that's like why I started my series too.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like, if one of the guys who I don't like decides to watch the video, well, great, cool. Hopefully one day like you'll become better and I can like you.
Yeah. Well, and you never know, like Arthur and I were saying, like, you never know who on the other side of that screen needs to hear what you're saying.
Yes.
There may be a guy out there who desperately wants to be a good guy, but all he's ever known is bad boys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he needs someone to show him the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think, because when I was dating before, finding Christ and whatnot, like, I guess I don't know if I would say, like, I was a bad boy type of thing, but, like, my approach towards dating was more bad boy type, because that's where I was like, okay, that's how I would get the girls' attention and whatnot.
Because that's what happens. The bad boys get the girls. They get the hot girls.
Yeah.
The boy on the motorcycle that acts like he doesn't care about her. Like, why do we do that? Why do we do that, women? We fall for the guy that's going to break our hearts.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Maybe you would know why.
I did it over and over and over. I always tell people, like, I tend to date, well, I'm married now, but I don't don't know. I can't really say that because as I'm like reflecting back on my relationships, like, oh my goodness, I dated not the best people, probably for me. They were good people, they were good guys, they just were lost.
They were lost. Interesting.
Deep down in them, they were good guys.
Yeah, and I think that's probably it. Like,
yeah.
I like to believe most people are good people, and they have pure intentions, but they're just hurt.
Yeah, they're hurt or they don't know how to love properly. And that's why I think your Good Guy, Good Man series is going to be so powerful, because I think there's a lot of guys out there. I know my husband is like, his number one priority is to make me happy. Like, I know that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't see it. And it's because, like, I know if I, like, actually stop and think about what he's doing, it's rooted in making me and my daughter happy. It always is. But it might look different than what I think it should look like, or what I think society has taught me it should look like. Because he didn't really have a dad to model that. His uncle raised him, but not until he was a little bit older. So he didn't really have like a road map of like, this is how you be a good man, this is how you be a good husband, this is how you do XYZ, this is how you show affection to a woman. So he's figuring it out on his own and doing what he can with the knowledge that he has. And I think that's so common with so many guys. And we as women, we get frustrated because it doesn't look exactly the way we think it should look.
So then it goes back to that, what I brought up earlier, of like, what is he going to do for me?
Yes.
Type of mentality.
Yes. Yeah. And I think we all have to kind of try to see each other from a different lens.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, this guy is truly just a butthole.
Yeah.
This guy is a good guy and he's trying. Like, and yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. There's so many guys out there that I think want to do the right thing. They just don't know how.
Yeah, and they're lost. And I think that, like, what you're saying, like, you know, your husband's trying, which is great. I think there's a difference between actually putting in effort and not putting in effort.
Yeah.
And it's not on the girls. The girl shouldn't be pushing the guy to become better.
Right.
The girl shouldn't be, like, begging this guy for attention. The girl shouldn't be, honestly, like, the girl shouldn't be, like, quote unquote, like, wearing the pants in the relationship. Meaning, like, she shouldn't be, like, the girl shouldn't be, like, rescuing the guy. Like, oh my God, like.
And we do that so often.
Like, oh, they meet this guy, he doesn't go to church or something like that. And they're like, oh, I can change him. I can change him.
Yeah.
Like, that guy's not going to change. Like, if he wants to change, he needs to change for himself.
Yeah.
Because if he changes for you, like, what's going to happen if y'all don't work out? He's just going to go back to his old ways and shit like that.
Well, it's like when people get sober for their kids, get sober for their spouse, get sober because of probation. Like, it's a lot harder to stay sober for someone else than it is to stay sober for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think you have to want to be a good man for yourself. Like, you have to want it for you.
Yeah.
You can't do it for someone. It has to be because you've hit your rock bottom of like, oh my gosh, I'm a jerk. I've hurt enough girls. I've done enough crap in my life, whatever it is, and I'm ready to make a change. I'm ready to be a good man.
And this is all, like, just wanting to do that for yourself. Because, like, So like I shared like I have a call. I feel like I have a calling to be a husband one day,
Mm-hmm.
but marriage isn't promised in the Bible. I could die single,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna be okay with that, and
Yeah.
I like the life I've built for myself. I was thinking about this the other day. How do I word it? I feel like so for me personally, like my life is filled with so many healthy, loving, platonic relationships
Mm-hmm.
that a romantic relationship would just add to that. So it's not something like I need. It's something I desire, but it's also not something that's gonna complete me. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yes, I love that. Like, I think all too often we look to relationships to fulfill us
Mm-hmm.
and to complete us. And it drives me crazy when people are like, "Oh, he's my better half," and I'm like, "No, it takes two whole people,
Mm-hmm.
whole,
Mm-hmm.
not broken in half, not
Yeah.
a quarter of a person and three
Mm-hmm.
quarters of a
Mm-hmm.
person, two whole people to make a marriage
Mm-hmm.
last."
Yeah, it makes sense, and it's like and like you were saying, like people go like they look for that the completion
Mm-hmm.
partner, like they want that companionship, they want that partner and whatnot, but it's like, and that's why I think people are just stuck in like endless cycles of
Mm-hmm.
dating where it's like start dating someone doesn't go well, start dating someone doesn't go well,
Because
start
they
dating
don't
someone
fill the
doesn't go well.
hole that they're looking for them to fill.
Mm-hmm.
And so they move on to the next. And that one doesn't fill the hole that they're needing to fill. But we need to fill our own hole. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we need to fix our own cracks.
Mm-hmm.
No one
Yeah.
else can fix it for us. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no one else can make me a better woman. No one can make you a better man.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do the work yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And even as a man, like honestly, if I were to be completely honest, I would say like if I wanted to, I'm pretty sure I could have already found a relationship
Mm-hmm.
because like I shared with you, there's girls who showed interest in me at church. However, there's nice guys, there's good guys. It's not my job to like be someone's knight in shining armor.
Yeah.
It's not my job to like find a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
not. That's
Mm-hmm.
not my job, and it's not my responsibility. Like to
Yeah.
just save this girl from like all the douchebags in the world, and like
Yeah.
be this righteous, chivalrous man of God, and
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
like it. That's not my job. It's
Yeah.
not my job to save a girl, as we were saying with like girls saving guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's not our roles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But,
God is the Savior, not us.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Leave the saving to Him.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's. Wow. Well, so what can your followers expect from the Good Man series? What are some topics that are going to be coming?
So I know I discussed nice guys, good guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think another topic I'm going to discuss is confidence versus cockiness.
I like it. I
Mm-hmm.
like it. Yes, because there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Confidence is walking into a room and not having to compare yourself to anyone.
Exactly.
Cockiness is like you're trying to put up a front of I'm this cool, amazing dude type of thing.
All I can think of is the peacock with the big feathers. They're like,
yeah, like, hey, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And yeah, peacocks are pretty, but I mean,
and like I know my personality is kind of like, hey, here I am and whatnot,
yeah.
but it's never I'm trying to like outdo anyone. Like,
No, you're just being yourself.
yes.
And there's a difference between walking in and trying to upstage everyone for the sake of being the center of attention and instead using your personality to bless others and be a light to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few of my friends had told me that like I just bring up joy into like any room I walk into, and I'm like, oh, how sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another topic I'm gonna talk about is like toxic masculinity, machismo culture. I think one of the biggest ones is like how to express yourself in a healthy masculine way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think there's ways to like, hey, this is how I feel, rather than suppressing your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and then rather flipping out and like unleashing them and whatnot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's and we'll see what else kind of comes to mind in this little series. It's something that's been on my heart for a few months. I just, for the longest, I was like, I don't know whether to do it or not.
There's always that fear.
Mm-hmm.
There's always that fear, especially when you have something that's going to change lives.
Wow, that's a good way to look at it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've received like positive feedback so far. I'm like, oh, cool, people actually listened.
Yes. Yes. There's a hunger out there, I think. And we talked briefly about the Me Too movement, but I think that really sparked an interest in men to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not enough men because there's still the crap going on,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's awakened guys to the fact that masculinity is broken
Yes,
and
I
needs
agree.
to be repaired.
I agree, and I think it's also been, like I said, that genuine brother and sister love for each other, like as children of God and whatnot. And it's like I think just identifying, like, women are strong people. Like it doesn't mean like healthy masculinity isn't diminishing their light, but probably adding to their light.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited to see. And then eventually too, I'll probably hit on one of the topics of like dating and whatnot. I think I've already talked about it enough here, where I'm like, just ask them out. It's not that hard. Use the word date. Don't be like, hey, you want to hang out? Like,
Yes, be clear,
mm-hmm.
be confident, and set boundaries.
If you don't use the word date, you are just hanging out with friends. End of discussion. Like,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show again.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm excited. I will put Joe's for TikTok because I just found you on TikTok. I literally just found you on TikTok. I was like, I wonder if Joe's on here.
I am. I'm on TikTok. I post a lot of stupid stuff on there too. Well, not even. It's more like funny stuff.
Yes.
I would say it's funny, like cute videos.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll tag all of that in the show notes so that you can go follow Joe, and listen to his, what is it? Being a good man?
Good Men series.
Good Man series. See, my brain is fried, guys. I'm like, I am leaving to a wedding in 2 days, and I am so looking forward to. I'm not a bridesmaid. I'm just a guest. My husband's a groomsman.
It's not my wedding neither, unfortunately.
And I'm looking forward to the hotel bed by myself while my husband is doing the wedding things, and then getting all pretty and going to the ceremony and being there for my friends. So yeah, my brain has already checked out, and I still have 2 more days to go. Yeah.
You're like, I'm ready.
I'm ready. But yeah, well, thank you for being on. And until next week, guys, be well, be kind, and may you find some joy this week. Bye.
Bye.